Good afternoon. There's a tentative agreement to end the strike for Air Canada flight attendants. We spotted planes being moved on the ground at Pearson Airport.
But many stranded passengers are still trying to find a way home. And Air Canada says it could be a week or more before the schedules return to normal. CTV Sean Leathong is back at Pearson Airport. Sean, the airline and the union are no longer at an impasse suddenly. Tell us more.
Well, it's got to be what passengers were hoping to hear, that planes will be in the sky, but they're not quite there just yet. We're expecting the first flights to take off this afternoon, with some more domestic flights starting tomorrow morning. Now, we heard that the deal was reached tentatively at about 4:30 this morning, so an intense round of bargaining from yesterday afternoon until this morning. And then the word came out that regular operations would start up for Air Canada, but as of right now, the planes are still grounded. What that means for people on the ground here inside Pearson Airport is there are a number of passengers who had been stranded due to either their connecting flight being canceled or a flight that was destined for Toronto being canceled. We spoke to a number of people today about what they're dealing with to get to their destinations, many of them having lost a layover flight, trying to figure out what to do, and here's what they had to say.
The level of frustration of not knowing. You know, if you knew for a fact, if somebody said, okay, this is a fact, you are going to go on this flight at this time, and that's happening for sure, then, you know, then you could make your decisions from there. But when everyone goes, who knows? You might get out today, you might get out tomorrow.
Paris is beautiful. It's nice to enjoy, but you can't enjoy it when you're stuck in your room having to call Air Canada to make sure that you're on a flight.
So we drove all the way from Bathurst to Brunswick to the airport here. We just reached 15-hour drive, so we just literally arrived now, 3 hours before our flight.
So one of the busiest places in the airport is right behind me. There's a help desk set up at Terminal 1 trying to direct passengers and just let them know what their options will be. As we know, the Air Canada has said it would take 7 to 10 days to get up to 100% capacity for their operations. They're starting long-haul international flights this afternoon, with more domestic flights coming tomorrow morning. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Nathan Michelle, send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. And it's not just passengers at Pearson in limbo. We're hearing from Air Canada passengers at far-flung destinations who are trying to get home. One family had to spend thousands to get seats on another carrier. And CTV's Allison Hurst joins us with more details on all of this. Allison.
We've been speaking to several families who are stuck in this situation, stuck abroad, and the biggest frustration from them is the lack of communication once their flights have been canceled. Kelsey Horner is on a dream trip to Greece with her mom, who just turned 50, and sister. They are now stuck in Athens, and she says they've had no communication from Air Canada other than to tell them their flight was canceled and they couldn't rebook them. Horner says fortunately she has found another flight, a way to get home, but on Monday, it cost them more than $8,000, money they weren't expecting to spend on this trip, and she says she doesn't know if they'll be able to get any of that back.
The fact that I have phoned Air Canada umpteen times now and there's been no answers, I can't get a hold of anyone, is just ridiculous. Yeah, it's a big unknown, and it is scary when you're looking to buy tickets and they're all disappearing. I think it's disgusting that other airlines are now gouging customers who are just trying to get home. The prices are going up exponentially by like every 5-10 minutes they're going up, and websites are crashing. And I think that it's really disappointing and sad to see how Air Canada has been handling this.
You have a right to alternate transportation as long as you refuse to accept a refund. Make sure you don't accept a refund. Once you have gotten your ticket on a different airline, you have come home to Canada, your next step is sending Air Canada the bill with a demand for payment within 30 days.
That was Gabor Lucas, an airline passenger rights advocate, who says if you follow his steps and haven't heard back from Air Canada within 30 days, then it's time to take them to court. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Allison. And there is more to the story. We have new information on what it takes to get the routes up and running. And the federal jobs minister is promising to investigate claims of unpaid work. Scott Hurst will join us with that coverage in about 10 minutes.
Also coming up, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is heading back to the House of Commons after a by-election win in Alberta. But first, we take a live look at our city this afternoon as we turn our attention to the forecast. It's cloudy, cool, and unsettled on this Tuesday. Lindsay Morrison is here with all the details. Lindsay.
Well, Michelle, we know that we need rain. We're going to get some today, first in the form of showers, and then later on today, we could be in for periods of rain that become a little heavier. There's also the risk of an embedded thunderstorm. So here's a tight look at our satellite and radar, focusing on the GTA. We'll widen things out a little bit so you can see just how widespread this rain is across southern, southwestern Ontario. Some areas could experience what is called training thunderstorms, and that's where the same area gets hit by heavy amounts of rain over and over again. So a decent soaking expected for many areas today, good for the lawn and garden. Hopefully it doesn't lead to anything worse than that, like flooding. We have a very light easterly wind right now. Our temperature is cool. It's 20 degrees. It feels more like 23, and 23 is our forecast daytime high for today. It is a cool start to the week. We'll give you an idea of when we return to some seasonal warmth. That's coming up. For now, Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. We have more today on the murder of an 8-year-old boy in Toronto.
Javé Roy was struck by a stray bullet while in bed. His mother says she wants her son's name to become a beacon of light in the effort to stop gun violence. CTV's John Woodward reports.
Javé Roy's mom shared new pictures and video of him on social media on Monday.
And just a happy little guy, like genuinely a good kid.
A good kid, just 8 years old, as he lay in bed with his mom at this building at Martha Eaton Way and Trethewey Drive in the early hours of Saturday morning. His mom wrote in a social media post, "My baby was preparing for one of his best friend's birthday celebrations. He was so excited he couldn't sleep." That's when gunfire began and Javé was hit by a stray bullet. "There was nothing I can do but scream and hold his lifeless little body. I cannot get that image out of my head," Roy wrote. "Remember his name, never forget his name. I promise, baby, your name will not go in vain and everybody will know it, and mommy's going to go hard for justice, baby," she said. Roy said she wants Javé's body to be returned to a First Nation on Manitoulin Island.
My name is Javé. I am 6 years old.
Javé was featured only 2 years ago in a video by the One by One movement against gangs.
Being nice. Be
nice. Hopefully this can be a beacon of light.
One by One's founder, Marcel Wilson, a former gang member himself, said Javé's death should spark change.
That this is finally the point where people are fed up and had enough.
Police haven't released any suspect information so far and are appealing for witnesses. The shooting got the attention of Toronto's police chief, who visited with the Roy family over the weekend, and Toronto's mayor, who vowed action.
It's sad, it's tragic, it's cruel, it's horrendous.
Toronto's year-to-date homicide statistics are down substantially, just 26 so far this year, compared with 54 in the same period last year. Wilson did have words for anyone looking to get revenge.
You want to harm this person because they harmed someone you love. Don't become what they are.
He says that's not what Javé would have wanted. John Woodward, CTV News.
Canada's Prime Minister participated in a virtual meeting of the so-called Coalition of the Willing earlier today. The video call was hosted by French President Emmanuel Macron. He briefed fellow leaders on Monday's talks between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Mark Carney was also on the call. The Prime Minister has recently affirmed Canada's steadfast support for Ukraine and offered $2 billion in military support. Some of the most powerful leaders in the world were at the White House as the Ukrainian president met with Donald Trump.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he's working to set up a bilateral meeting between Zelensky and the Russian president as the next step. CTV's Judy Trin reports.
The Ukrainian president wore a suit to the White House, not his usual military uniform.
First of all, Mr. President Zelensky, you look fabulous in that suit.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, you look good.
I said the same thing.
Volodymyr Zelensky voiced his appreciation for Donald Trump's efforts to end the war and even thanked the First Lady for her letter to Vladimir Putin expressing concern for Ukraine's children.
Using this opportunity, many thanks to your wife, First Lady of the United States.
All carefully calibrated to avoid the disaster of his last meeting in the Oval Office.
You don't have the cards right now. We're all working for the same goal.
This time, Ukraine's interests were shielded by the leaders of Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Finland, the European Union, and NATO's Secretary General.
When we talk about security, we're talking about the security not just of Ukraine, we're talking about the security of Europe and the United Kingdom as well.
Mr. Putin, did you underestimate Ukraine?
Following the president's one-on-one with Putin in Alaska, the European leaders pushed for security guarantees and a ceasefire. But Trump isn't convinced it's necessary.
Your idea to ask for a truce or a ceasefire, at least to stop the killings, as we discussed, is a necessity.
We can work a deal where we're working on a peace deal while they're fighting. They have to fight. I wish they could stop.
In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea. Now, 3.5 years after it declared war, Russia controls almost 20% of Ukraine. Trump has said Zelensky may have to give up territory. Caught on a hot mic, Trump signaled he believes Putin is willing to make a deal for him.
I think he wants to make a deal for me. You understand that, as crazy as it sounds?
Donald Trump says he's working on arranging a meeting between Zelensky and Putin so they can discuss the terms of a ceasefire and who will get Ukrainian territory seized by Russia. Judy Trin, CTV News.
Hours before that meeting, a Russian drone strike killed at least 7 people, including a toddler in Kharkiv. An entire family died in an apartment from that attack. Ukraine's Air Force said Russia launched 140 drones and 4 missiles into the country overnight. Ukraine says many were shot down. Here at home, federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has secured his return to Parliament.
Poilievre won a seat in the Alberta riding of Battle River Crowfoot last night.
So that we can once again restore a country that is strong, self-reliant, and sovereign. That is the country we're in this for. That is why we stay united. That is why we go forward. May God keep our land glorious and free. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Poilievre was widely expected to win in the riding, which is considered one of the safest Conservative seats in the country. With the victory, the Conservative leader will be back in the House of Commons in time for the fall session. And the Prime Minister posted this on X, saying, "Congratulations to Pierre Poilievre on returning to the House of Commons and gaining the honor of representing the people of Battle River Crowfoot in Parliament. Thank you as well to Darcy Spady and to everyone who took part in this by-election. Working together, Canada's new government will keep building a stronger future for all Albertans and Canadians."
We have more now on the fallout from the Air Canada strike. We have new information on this restart with a now tentative deal. Our Scott Hurst is following this story. He joins us live with more. And Scott, walk us through. Yesterday it wasn't looking so good. Now there's a tentative deal. Walk us through how these two sides got to this point.
Michelle, of course, following on yesterday, you might be surprised to hear early this morning a lot of people waking up to this news to find out that a tentative deal had been reached. It appeared that the two sides might not be as close as that, but what it took were the two sides getting back to the bargaining table with the help of a federal mediator all through last night into early this morning, and that's when we got the announcement that a tentative deal had been reached between Air Canada and the union representing some 10,000 flight attendants. No doubt a lot of people waking up to this news, breathing a sigh of relief, not just those involved in the negotiation and the two sides there, the airline and the union members, the flight attendants, but of course all the people impacted by this as well. So ultimately this ends 3 days of unrest that grounded an estimated 1,700 flights and impacted roughly 500,000 customers. Of course, we know at this point the government intervened in the strike on Saturday, ordering the union into binding arbitration, but flight attendants defied that back to work order and remained on the picket lines. And that meant if it dragged on any further, CUPE could have been facing fines or possible even jail time as well, defying that back to work order. And so what we had been hearing was the issues that were at play were wages and unpaid work. Now, specifics of the deal have not been released, but according to the union, it says specifically in an update, unpaid work is over. So those were some of the main sticking points, but it appeared that these two sides were able to work together through the help of a federal mediator all through the night into the early hours of the morning to get this tentative deal done, Michelle.
So that is good news for passengers. However, to restart an airline like this, it is a mammoth undertaking. So let's talk about what this means for passengers.
Yeah, you've already heard through the stories with Sean and Allison the impact it's having on passengers here at home and abroad, many trying to get back to Canada. So it has been incredibly frustrating for so many passengers, as I mentioned, impacting roughly 500,000 people flying with Air Canada. And so what passengers need to know now is that Air Canada is saying specifically it plans to restart flights as of 4 p.m. this afternoon. Here's more from Air Canada on what it means to get back up to speed, where they say it could take anywhere from 7 to 10 days to get back to normal service. Here's more from Air Canada on the operational side of all this.
Air Canada is an incredibly complex operation. We're talking 40,000 coworkers, over 250 aircraft operating to 65 countries around the world. It's not the kind of a system, unfortunately, that we can start or stop at the push of a button. Let me just give you one example. Our flights to Sydney, Australia from Vancouver, the first one will leave tonight, but there's no more crews or aircraft around the world. It's all been brought home because the strike lasted so long. So the flight goes down to Australia with customers and the crew tonight. That takes about a whole day to get to Australia. It has to sit in Australia for an entire day so that crew can have, of course, their rest and be prepared to operate. And then the third day, it comes back to Vancouver, and that takes a whole day. So just that one route, we're talking about 3 days to get it back going. And then we have hundreds of routes throughout the system, similar story.
So, Michelle, unfortunately, as you heard there, they can't just push a button and get everything back up to normal operation, get back up to normal speed. So what Air Canada is saying right now, only customers with confirmed bookings should go to the airport. Of course, there's also the backlog of a large number of customers needing rebookings, credits, and refunds. And as you might expect, Michelle, that will take quite some time as well.
That really puts it into perspective. CTV Scott Hurst in the National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Meantime, Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu is looking into one of the issues the union brought forward during the labor dispute. Hajdu released a video on social media stating she has launched an investigation into the allegation of unpaid work for Air Canada flight attendants.
It's unacceptable. Nobody should work for free in this country. In fact, we expect to get paid for the work that we perform. And that's why I've ordered a probe into the allegation of unpaid work in the airline sector. We will start this probe immediately, and if employers are exploiting loopholes in the Canada Labour Code, we'll close them. Nobody should be expected to work for free.
Meanwhile, other airlines have been adding more flights, but that does not mean those seats are more accessible.
CTV's Genevieve Beauchemin has details on what the lack of supply and increased demand are doing to ticket prices.
The search for an escape hatch from Air Canada has travelers looking for other means of transportation. But aboard planes, there's limited space, especially in peak summer season. And adding flights is not exactly a smooth ride for other carriers.
It's not like the TTC that the subway goes down or the metro goes down and you can add a bunch of buses right away. It doesn't quite work that way. And it's for a safety perspective. The other thing is you have to be able to get the gates at the airports.
Still, Porter, Air Transat and WestJet say they're looking at adding some flights on a few routes. In a statement, WestJet said that it is positioning larger aircraft onto key routes and working with airport partners, pilots and cabin crew to add a limited number of extra flights to help accommodate guests. Air Transat says to respond to strong demand, it's also adding some flights and using larger aircraft on some transatlantic routes. But safety regulations, including the availability of flight crews and hours they can fly, limits scaling up. Add that all in, and the cost of a ticket isn't cheap. A one-way ticket from Montreal to Toronto aboard WestJet on Wednesday, $1,105.
Well, it's going to be pricey. That's just the way it's going to be. All airline pricing is based on demand. The demand was high to begin with.
And charter flights like those that operate out of the small airport here south of Montreal could also pick up business, but that's not cheap either. There's also Via and buses for some routes and car rentals, although the price of those is also rising. Genevieve Beauchemin, CTV News, Longueuil, Quebec.
Inflation cooled in July thanks largely to relief at the gas pumps, but grocery and shelter costs went up last month. The annual rate of inflation fell to 1.7%, down from 1.9% in June. The reading was 1/10 of a percentage point below most economists' expectations. Gas prices were down 0.7% on a monthly basis, but inflation on food from the grocery store accelerated to 3.4% annually in July, up from 2.8% in June. The Bank of Canada will be looking at the numbers closely as it prepares for its next interest rate decision on September 17th.
We turn now to the wildfires that continue to burn in several provinces. In Newfoundland, firefighters are hoping to get some help from the weather. As of today, 7 communities remain under evacuation order. The Kingston fire continues to burn out of control. It is the largest of the 5 wildfires in that province.
An out-of-control wildfire in Nova Scotia's Annapolis Valley has grown to more than 32 square kilometers. But so far, no homes are believed to have been lost. The Long Lake wildfire is currently just over 3,200 hectares in size and is the only fire that is currently burning out of control in the province. In total, 107 homes were evacuated.
And in BC, rain and cooler temperatures have helped the wildfire fight there. For now, though, evacuation orders, alerts, and a state of emergency remain in effect for the Mount Underwood fire outside Port Alberni. The fire has knocked out power to the town of Bamfield. And thousands of people forced from their homes by these wildfires remain displaced.
And some were treated to a much-needed distraction thanks to Canada's Wonderland. CTV's Rahim Ladani was there.
They're one of thousands of people who have been evacuated from their homes, displaced by wildfires burning in Manitoba, and have been living in Niagara Falls.
Really rough. But I miss the trees, the fresh water, and being out in the lake in our cabin. I miss that. And it's hard being in the city.
While the adjustment has been challenging, getting to ride the roller coasters at Wonderland is a welcome distraction.
I always wanted to be here. I always wanted to come here.
It's a distraction for the grandchildren. I think they're going to really enjoy it.
I'm going to try the scariest roller coaster at least once.
250 members of the Matthias Colombe Cree Nation, also known as Puckatawagan, and members of Nelson House First Nation are at the park today, with possibly another group later in the week.
Canada's Wonderland has partnered with Xpera, Canada's largest national risk mitigation firm. Over the last 4 years, this partnership has hosted around 4,000 First Nation members who have been displaced by fires and flooding.
We're here in the business of fun, but we want to put particular effort towards those families who are perhaps going through a hard time and give them at least one day, to look forward to.
Creating joyful memories during a time of hardship. Rahim Ladani, CTV News.
Well, here at home, things may have cooled down recently temperature-wise, but in the Atlantic, the hurricane season is now just starting to heat up. This is really when it starts to peak late August, and we've been tracking a major hurricane. So this is Erin. Fortunately, it looks as though the storm is going to continue to track offshore. However, dangerous rip currents are expected anywhere from Florida to Maine, with a particular concern around the Carolinas. And unfortunately, it doesn't look as though this is going to give Atlantic Canada the soaking that it could use with the wildfires burning there. And there are 2 other systems that we're going to watch behind Erin. So yes, becoming active in the Atlantic. Here at home, we'll take a look at your forecast for the rest of the week. Some wet weather expected later today. Details after this.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Let's talk about the forecast again. Another cool start to the day, but I don't mind.
You know what? I don't mind. I think the kids off to camp. My son this morning was aghast when I put a sweater on him. He told me, "How do I take this off?"
Oh,
it's like,
no.
What? You just take off your sweater. He's just been so not used to wearing a sweater. But you know what? Hopefully a little bit later in the day, it's okay without one.
Yeah, I mean, you might need the umbrella or perhaps a light rain jacket a little later in the day, unfortunately. But as the week goes on, we shouldn't need the sweater. A little bit of seasonal warmth is going to return, so that's some good news. I don't know about you, but this change in weather has me thinking September, October, a little early preview of fall, if you will. And yeah, it looks like the cooler conditions are here for the next couple of days. It's the end of the week and into the weekend that we see the warmth return. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. A dry start to the day today. A few clouds started to creep their way in as the sun was rising. Hopefully you had an opportunity to spend some time outside this morning, because the afternoon is looking decidedly a little more unsettled. As you can see, it's pretty active on our satellite and radar. A widespread area impacted by showers
Or rain. Yeah, we'll go ahead and call it rain because it's coming down steadily in some areas, especially north and west of Toronto right now and across extreme southwestern Ontario. We'll widen things out to show you the scope of this disturbance. It's going to be with us through this afternoon, through the early part of the evening, and then it's going to linger into the overnight. There might even be a couple of leftover showers for tomorrow, but generally speaking, your Wednesday is going to be a drier day. Let's pause this around the early part of the evening. So there's 5 p.m. You can see that we are still dealing with some showers or some rain. Chance of a thunderstorm embedded within this. If it happens, it will be non-severe in nature, but you might hear a few rumbles of thunder, and it could cause a little bit of steadier rain to fall as we head into the evening. But again, conditions will dry out as the evening progresses and we head into the overnight. There's the early morning hours of tomorrow, so around 6 a.m. I'd bring the umbrella with you. It looks like it's going to be a mostly cloudy day and a mostly dry day, but that chance of showers is there. So how much rain are we talking here? Depending on where you're joining us from, you could see upwards of 20 millimeters of rain. An embedded thunderstorm would certainly help with that. I'm thinking 10 to 20 in and around the city of Toronto, which is much needed. I think many of us will take this. Here's a look at our current temperature. It is 21 degrees, feeling like 24. We are on our way to our forecast daytime high of 23, feeling like 28. You know, yesterday we didn't make it any higher than 21 degrees, so it was certainly a cooler day. 25 is our seasonal average. Tonight we drop to about 19 degrees, which is warmer than normal for the overnight. And then tomorrow at a glance, again, a mostly cloudy day, 23 once again, but it will be a little more humid. It's going to feel more like 29. Here is the 7-day forecast, back into some sunshine for Thursday and Friday, up around 27 degrees for Friday and Saturday. We're just going to watch for a chance of wet weather over the weekend. That's your look at the forecast. Michelle, over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. The Toronto Blue Jays opened a series in Pittsburgh against the Pirates last night.
Shoots one to right field. It's fair, and it'll bring in a run.
The Jays took a 2-1 lead in the second inning, but weren't able to hang on with the Pirates battling back to a 5-2 win. Things heated up in the seventh, with both benches clearing when Jays catcher Tyler Henneman and Pittsburgh's Tommy Pham exchanged words. The two teams meet again tonight. And there was some bad news for the Jays last night. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. left the game in the fifth inning with left hamstring tightness. That was after he went into a full split to field a throw from Bo Bichette. Guerrero could be seen pointing at his leg while looking at the bench. He was scheduled to undergo an MRI last night.
The Raptors are not hiring a new president to replace Masai Ujiri, instead naming general manager Bobby Webster as the team's new head of basketball operations. MLSE announced yesterday it's extending Webster's contract as GM. The group's president and CEO says after looking at external candidates over the summer, it became clear Webster was the right person for the role. The 40-year-old is entering his 9th season as the team's general manager. And in soccer news, Canada is leading the way when it comes to volunteering at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Toronto and Vancouver rank 1 and 2 among the 16 host cities in the number of applications. There have been more than 565,000 total volunteer applications to date, over 180,000 of them in Canada. Volunteers will provide support at stadiums, training sites, airports, hotels, and more. An exhibition highlighting the impact of Black culture on art and fashion has made its way to Toronto.
It's all happening at the United Contemporary Gallery in downtown Toronto, and that's where we find CTV's Jessica Smith this afternoon. Jess.
You guys have to make your way down to this gallery. It really is something that every time I look at one of the photos, I see something a little bit different, and it tells such an important story. And I'm here with two very, very important people, one of the artists and the curator. But Brian, I want to talk to you first. What inspired you to bring these works together? These are 9 incredible artists, but how did you kind of come to the culmination of bringing these works into the space for the show Too Much Fashion?
So Too Much Fashion is an exhibition that's celebrating the legacy and the resilience of Black creatives, particularly in the fields of art and fashion. And it was inspired, the thought came to me around 2022, around the loss of Andre Leon Talley, who was the editor-in-chief of Vogue magazine, which ironically happened a few months after the loss of Virgil Abloh, who was the artistic director of the men's line for Louis Vuitton. And so I just wanted to, I had me thinking a lot about the importance of fashion to Black populations of people, and the contributions that specifically Black populations have given to the fashion world and the world of art as well.
And speaking of art and the world of art, Gordon, I want to ask you, you're one of the artists here. You have a self-portrait in this. But we were just talking earlier off camera about, we just came off of the Met Gala and dandyism and talking about Black fashion and Black culture. What's it like being a part of this show? And what's the kind of the reaction been so far? Because all the works here are so different, yours included.
Well, that's a big question, but I'm so proud to be part of this show and to see how people have reacted to it. It's also this acknowledgement of the work that we all put into ourselves and how we carry ourselves in society, right? And so that's an important part of our stories. And so being part of the show, knowing that some of my work has discussed that in the past, it was a no-brainer for me to be a part of it. I really had to be part of this, and I really wanted to show my perspective about, being a Black male and my ideas around fashion.
Every single piece of work is so different. We have paintings, we have photography, and there's quite a diversity in the work and diversity in the artists. How did you kind of pick, or did it just speak to you? Because we have some paintings here, we have some photography here, but all of the works are so unique.
Yeah, I wasn't really concerned that much about like the different disciplines involved. I'm not segregating work based on on the disciplines of the artists. I was really just looking for color and vibrancy that I thought was representative of the diaspora. We launched the show at the start of Carnival. So if you can think about the costume and pageantry involved in that and look at some of the work, you'll see a lot of those similar colors, as well as this being Emancipation Month. And, as you said, there's a diversity of artists. There's artists from the Caribbean, artists from Africa, Canadian artists. And so we wanted to, really dig into that and think about, I was really more thinking about color and vibrancy and things that were interconnected with fashion in my curation. So the disciplines, the diversity, that was all sort of part of it, but none of that was going to be a disqualifier either.
The work is incredible. It's here until the 30th. Thank you, Gordon and Brian, so much. We're going to send things back inside to the studio.
Thank you, Jess. Thanks, everyone. Beautiful pieces. Well, still to come on CTV News at noon, your car is vandalized, but you still have to pay the insurance deductible, even if it's not your fault. Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Next.
Drivers in Ontario are legally required to have liability coverage as part of their auto insurance, and most pay extra for collision and comprehensive coverage.
Comprehensive insurance will repair your car in the event it's vandalized, but you'll still be on the hook to pay the deductible. CTV's Pat Foran reports.
Randomly, someone just attacks your vehicle.
Rana Mashoud of Scarborough says he was returning home after a night out with friends when he was stopped at a red light. That's when a woman, without warning, started kicking the front of his vehicle.
She made a hand gesture, like as if she was pointing a gun. And then she ran up to my vehicle and started kicking it.
Mashoud says in a matter of seconds, his car was extremely damaged.
My whole front bumper, my grill is broken, my camera is broken. I have my sensors that are damaged. One of my headlights is gone.
He called the police and the woman was arrested, but he was upset to find out he would have to pay the $500 deductible, even though he feels he did nothing wrong.
You're the one who has to pay your own deductible because this is not another vehicle that hit you. It was a pedestrian.
Mashoud is insured with Allstate, and a spokesperson told CTV News deductibles are a standard component of many auto insurance policies, and that where possible, Allstate will pursue recovery from the responsible party and reimburse the customer's deductible if successful.
It is very standard in every auto insurance policy where you have optional physical damage coverage that there is a deductible.
The Insurance Bureau of Canada says while Mashoud will have to pay the deductible, he can try to get the person to reimburse him by going to court.
There is the potential of the driver taking the offender to small claims court to recoup their deductible.
Mashoud says he feels it's unfair that a person can vandalize his car and not have to pay to repair it.
As just innocent person, it doesn't make any sense to not only have my vehicle damaged, but at the same time be liable for a deductible.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
The beer store is planning to close a dozen more locations this fall, including 3 in the city. Locations at Logan and Girard, Don Mills and Steeles, and Don Mills and Finch will close their doors October 19th. The beer store says the closures are part of a modernization process. More than 80 locations have closed or are set to be shut down in Ontario this year.
Health Canada has approved Ozempic to reduce the risk of further kidney decline among patients with type 2 diabetes. An international clinical trial showed the risk of kidney function significantly deteriorating or failing was 24% lower in patients taking Ozempic compared to those taking a placebo injection. The study contributed to Health Canada's decision. A Toronto General Hospital kidney specialist who helped lead the Canadian part of the trial says the results show it's possible to reduce the loss of kidney function before patients need dialysis or a kidney transplant. Children all across the province are getting ready to return to school. We're now just a couple of weeks away.
And the young patients at the Hospital for Sick Children are no different. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has more on how they're preparing.
Grab the zipper and pull. 5-year-old Austin gets a hand going through the cool items in his new backpack.
What attracted Austin to the backpack was the bright, like the bright green he has.
But before he starts grade 1, he's got heart surgery scheduled for this week.
SickKids has been his first home. He spent the first 490 days at SickKids, and we never thought that he would be here today. Austin was born with a congenital heart defect, so it's called hypoplastic left heart syndrome. Short form is HLHS, so he only has half a heart. For him, going to school, it's the socialization with friends. So he doesn't really learn in a regular setting, which we're still working on all that.
They have classrooms here at SickKids. We have an elementary epilepsy classroom that allows those kids who need a little bit of extra support, both with their educational programs as well as with any of their medical needs, to come to a classroom and have as normal experience as possible. That's for kids from grade 2 to 8.
The hospital also offers classes for teens who often express anxiety about being able to graduate with their classmates.
Any item that's in the backpack is really helpful to build the confidence and reduce some stress as our patients are starting the beginning of their school year.
This is the 20th year that Staples has had its school supplies drive and the first year that it's partnered with SickKids Hospital.
And while the backpacks are useful, many kids got just as big a kick
That was easy.
out of being able to honk the horn on the big Staples bus parked in front of the hospital. Kids also had a chance to mingle with friends and play some games. A day of fun before the schoolwork begins. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Still to come, the tariffs on steel are expected to hit hard when it comes to the cost of major infrastructure projects. John Musselman will have that story. It wasn't imposed by Donald Trump, but a new tariff put in place by the Canadian government has some local businesses and municipal leaders concerned. It's on stainless steel.
And as CTV's John Musselman reports, it has some industry experts warning of massive price increases on infrastructure projects.
Pinnacle Stainless Steel is the largest stainless steel distributor in Canada. They don't make it here. It's imported from Taiwan and stored in warehouses like this across the country. At this location in Mississauga, the pipes are cut up, molded, and prepared for use in critical infrastructure projects nationwide.
Water, wastewater, oil, gas, the LNG pipeline, the SMR projects coming up for the OPG power plants, shipbuilding, hospitals, food, beverage, agricultural, farming.
Shane Goff is the company GM. He has warehouses across Canada. He says clients, including municipalities, are facing massive price hikes on stainless steel orders.
I won't say the job, but it was about $2 million of stainless pipe for a plant in Toronto. Now it's going to be about $2.5 to $3 million just for the raw costs. So that's one little project. There's hundreds, thousands of these across Canada.
And Goff says clients and taxpayers, if it's a municipal job, will pick up those extra costs. The issue is related to the Government of Canada implementing tariff rate quotas this summer on imports of steel mill products from non-free trade agreement partners. Quote, this measure will help stabilize the Canadian market and prevent harmful diversion of foreign steel from third countries into Canada while minimizing impacts on Canadian importers and downstream users. But stainless steel is produced on a limited basis in Canada, not enough to meet demand, and Goff says that's why it should be exempt.
I think just about every single client is concerned. A lot of them have taken projects a year ago at lower cost. Now they have to absorb these larger costs.
Industry experts have written both the federal and provincial governments calling for an exemption on stainless steel, which they believe was an oversight when the tariff rate quotas were put in place. John Musselman, CTV News.
The Prime Minister got together with Ontario's Premier in Ottawa yesterday. With the ongoing trade war and no new Canada-U.S. trade deal in sight, the two had quite a bit to discuss.
CTV's Rachel Aiello has details on Doug Ford's push to get Carney to cut red tape and taxes to ease the burden many businesses are facing.
What would you like to talk to Mark Carney about today?
Oh, we just have a lot of things.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford arrived on Parliament Hill today with lots to talk to Prime Minister Mark Carney about.
Well, we'll talk about the housing sector. We'll talk about steel, auto, new sectors of the economy, including artificial intelligence, what we're doing in terms of making Canada competitive.
It was their first face-to-face meeting since the latest round of trade talks with U.S. President Donald Trump fell apart.
We know President Trump's unpredictable. We have to find out what we need to do to make sure that we create the environment and conditions for companies from around the world to continue investing in Canada.
Yeah.
And we'll have that discussion.
I think we're working well together, but we've got more to do and get it done.
Both emerged from behind closed doors an hour later, saying they were on the same page.
Very good meeting with the Premier.
But they were non-committal about any immediate action that would put money back into businesses' bank accounts or ease regulatory burdens while they're still facing tariffs.
We had a great discussion. Nothing happens immediately in that room.
It remains murky where trade talks stand, but for his part, Ford has no plans to travel to Washington anytime soon.
When they need me, I'll be down there giving my colleague Howard Lutnick a little poke.
Oh, do you think he needs one?
He needs a couple more pokes than me. Don't worry, I'll poke him.
Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc was in the room for the meeting, but left without answering reporters' questions about the state of negotiations with the Americans. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
Coming up on CTV News, an outing to do some karaoke has made a Cape Breton woman famous, well beyond her hometown. We'll have the story still ahead.
Now to a Cape Bretoner who did Johnny Cash proud and became a viral sensation in the process.
The CTV's Brianne Foley shows us the Johnny Cash girl is getting recognition one piece at a time.
Well, I left Kentucky back in 49, went to Detroit working on the assembly line. But I was like, well, I'll sing, but if I'm going to sing, I'm singing Johnny Cash.
Anne McQuarrie wanted a quiet night. Instead, she made lots of noise on the internet.
I was on my way home from school. I was with my dad, and my mom called and said she was at the tavern, and she wanted us to go and sing karaoke. So I was kind of tired. It was late-ish, and I was like, at first it was like, no, I'm not going to go. And then we were like, okay, we'll go. We got there, and I was just going to eat and then leave, but she was like, no, you have to sing a song. We drilled it out so that it was fitting with a little bit of help from an adapter kit.
Her rendition of One Piece at a Time reached farther than she could imagine.
Someone came up to me, 2 people actually, and were like, oh, are you the Johnny Cash girl? I remember like calling my brother who lives away, and I was going to tell him, and he already knew. He was like, yeah, like, this is crazy. Like, and then we were just like checking in throughout the day, like being like, and now it's at this many. Like, it was going up like crazy.
So her brothers had to jump into the ring of fire and make it a family affair.
And that's when we noticed that something was definitely wrong. Did it with my 2 older brothers, and that was a lot of fun too. And some of the comments were like, oh, when am I going to catch one of these performances?
As for Anne, she's still shocked she walked the line.
It's definitely cool. I'm really surprised that it happened with that song, because that's not something that I would normally do. So it's pretty funny that that's how it happened, but That's the internet, I guess.
The Johnny Cash Girl has over 800,000 views and counting. The Macquarie family and, of course, Inverness are pushing for 1 million. Brianne Foley, CTV News, Halifax.
That story walks the line.
Yeah, okay, let's get you caught up weather-wise, and definitely an unsettled day. It's cooler. It's not going to be like this forever, though.
It's not, and we haven't had too many summer days that look like this. It's cloudy out there. We've got showers. We've got heavy rain in some areas, too. One more look at the satellite and radar. Risk of thunderstorms as we continue through the rest of the day. And there is a big concert happening at Rogers Stadium tonight, so hopefully you have your poncho ready if you're headed there. That's your camp day forecast for tomorrow. Chance of showers again in the morning, and then a drier day expected by Thursday, certainly, and Friday looks nice and warm. Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Lindsay. And that's CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Dowd. And be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.